At night, when the city is quiet and the streets feel hollow, monsters don't hide in castles or graveyards. They live in apartment buildings. They hang from trees. They ride motorcycles down empty highways with no heads and no mercy. In the mid-1970s, one man kept running into him, not because he was brave, but because he refused to stop asking questions. His name was Kolchak, and if he was chasing a story, someone was already dead. I'm Craven Bang Candy. Like and subscribe. Drop us a line and turn on those notifications. Because long before the X-Files, before Supernatural, before television horror learned how to blend folklore, urban legend, and investigative paranoia, there was Kolchack the Night Stalker. A rumpled reporter with a tape recorder, a bad attitude, no backup. Kolchack didn't hunt monsters. He documented them, usually just seconds before they killed again. Vampires stalked Las Vegas. Werewolves tore through Los Angeles, and doppelgangers hid behind human faces. Ancient evils slithered out of the natural world itself. Tonight we're looking at 3 essential episodes. Stories that define what Kolchack did better than almost any show before or since. Episodes that weren't just scary for their time. They're still unsettling now. So dim the lights, lock the doors, and keep your eyes open. Because in Kolchack's world, the most terrifying thing isn't the monster. It's that no one believes you when you see it. At number 1, The Vampire, Season 1, Episode 4. After 3 episodes of bizarre and often otherworldly cases, the vampire brings Kolchack back into familiar horror territory. Blood, death, a creature of legend. But unlike gothic tales set in castles and foggy graveyards, this is a modern vampire story of the undead, prowling the highways and streets of 1970s America. The opening scene is a chilling one that would give you a lifetime of nightmares. As a woman identified as Elena Munoz finds herself stranded alone at night in the Nevada heat with a flat tire, she looks for a jack in the trunk of her car, but instead she finds just 10 feet away from her a pair of pale, black-veined, gnawed, twitching hands rising from a makeshift grave from the ground. It's a terrifying sight, especially to my 9-year-old self who watched this one late night when I was supposed to be in bed, and regretted that decision for many a month following. And whom do these 2 twitching hands of nightmare fuel belong to? It's a woman named Catherine Rollins, a previously missing victim of the vampire Kolchack battled in the original TV movie. After being buried and forgotten for 3 years, she climbs out of her shallow grave and begins feeding again. Rollins quickly makes her way to Los Angeles, where her hunting ground becomes lonely highways, motel rooms, and unsuspecting men, especially those she meets under the guise of companionship. Her killings are brutal and efficient. She punctures the necks of her victims and leaves them drained of blood, a clean signature that slowly draws attention. Kolchack isn't in Los Angeles for the vampire at first. He's actually sent to interview a controversial guru, an assignment he could care less about. But when he hears about bodies found drained of blood and notices patterns that resemble a vampire killing spree, his curiosity ignites, and he pursues the story with his signature stubbornness. He presses other media outlets and law enforcement. Of course, they all think he's crazy, especially when he raises the possibility of a female vampire on the loose. Catherine Rollins is something rare for the series, a female predator who isn't explained away as tragic or sympathetic. She's predatory by nature and shockingly comfortable in blending into society. Her undead status isn't mystical fog and bats. It's raw, physical, and terrifyingly close to real life. The episode's final showdown is classic Kolchack, a desperate hunt through the nighttime streets, and then into a secluded lair, where Kolchak confronts Rollins directly, armed not with modern weapons, but with a stake and improvised tools. He faces her in a deadly confrontation that is much about grit and guts as it is about folklore. Instead of universal horror tropes, the final act leans more into hammer horror, as we see a giant cross ignited in the field, and the visceral effect of driving a stake right through the heart of the vampire. The spectacle may feel like pulp, but it's an emotional beat that reinforces Kolchak's character. He isn't supernatural himself. He's just willing to confront whatever is. So why does this episode matter? It modernizes the vampire mythos. Instead of being rooted in old world Europe, this one is urban, American, and disturbingly plausible. It also shows the evolution of Kolchak, played gracefully and pitch perfect by Darren Mcgaven, the great character actor, who shows us he can lead a series with the best of them, breathing life into our unlikely hero, shows him adapting from reporting anomalies in Chicago to confronting them head-on in the hostile environments where he's the stranger. And of course that signature Kolchak theme, where authorities refuse to believe him, leaving the truth unpublished even when he's right, a motif that defines the soul of the series. For newbies, this is a good place to start. And number 2, The Werewolf, Season 1, Episode 5. In the 5th outing of Kolchack the Night Stalker, the show takes its signature blend of monster horror and gritty investigation onto the open sea. But this cruise is anything but a vacation. Instead, it becomes a claustrophobic death trap under a full moon, where something savage is picking off passengers and crew one by one. The episode begins far from moonlight and mystery, back in cold, snowy Chicago, where the INS crew gathers for a Christmas party. Kolchak's boss, Tony Bacinzo, is supposed to take a long overdue cruise aboard the luxury liner, the Hanover, but an audit keeps him ashore. Kolchak, ever the opportunist, wheedles his way into taking Tony's spot to cover swinging singles aboard the cruise for a feature article. But this assignment quickly turns into something far darker. Almost immediately, passengers and crew start turning up mutilated, their bodies savagely torn under the light of the full moon. Rumors swirl among the rigid, narrow corridors of the ship, and one sighting convinces Kolchak that there's more than a simple killer. A massive half-man, half-wolf creature is stalking the decks. Kolchak's investigation eventually clued him into the truth. The creature attacking people on the Hanover is a mysterious man named Bernhard Steiglitz, played with menacing perfection by Eric Braeden, soap opera icon from Young and Restless fame, a NATO soldier who was the lone survivor of a wolf attack that killed his platoon. Haunted by nightmares and suffering unexplained symptoms, Steiglitz slowly transforms into a flesh-ripping werewolf as the full moon approaches. Once Kolchak connects the dots, he hunts the story, even at risk to his own life. There are no silver bullets handy, so Kolchak improvises, taking the only silver available on the cruise, the captain's uniform buttons. He melts them down and casts makeshift silver shotgun pellets. For the final act, there's a chase and a physical fight against a mythic creature. To some, this may seem campy by modern standards, but the mood is very effective and atmospheric for 1970s television. Why does this episode matter? Well, by taking a classic monster, not just any monster, a tragic one, taking a centuries-old creature of myth and placing it on a 20th century ocean liner, the episode highlights Kolchak's ability to once again blend folklore with a believable, grounded world. And of course, the isolation. It amplifies the fear. The setting, isolated at sea with nowhere to escape, makes it one of the more suspenseful entries in the season. And Kolchak's resourcefulness, his improvisational use of of silver bud and shotgun pellets shows how he combines journalistic curiosity with guerrilla survival tactics, a reporter turned monster hunter by necessity. At number 3, Horror in the Heights, Season 1, Episode 11. This episode begins in Roosevelt Heights, a once thriving Jewish neighborhood that's now mostly home to elderly residents living on fixed incomes. The area is dealing with a petty problem, a rat infestation. But beneath that surface concern is something far more sinister. Bodies are turning up, badly mauled, stripped nearly to the bone, and police quietly assume that the rats got to them first. But Kolchak, as usual, isn't satisfied with easy explanations. The monster in the story isn't a vampire or a werewolf. It's a Rakshasa, a supernatural creature rooted in Hindu mythology. And according to legend, Rakshasas are flesh-eating demons, capable of taking the shape of someone their victim trusts, then leading that person into danger. So when people see someone familiar walking down an alley with them at night, that familiarity becomes a nightmare instead of comfort. Kolchak is called in when a group of old friends convening for an illegal poker game suddenly shrinks by one member. Local rumors swirl, including strange swastikas painted on walls throughout the neighborhood. At first, even Kolchak can't make sense of it until he learns something critical. The swastikas aren't being used in the hateful modern sense. They're a traditional Hindu symbol representing good fortune and a ward against evil spirits. Kolchak follows the trail to a Hindu restaurant owner who acts strangely and ultimately proves to be not what he seems. That interaction sets Kolchak on the Rakshasa's path and forces him to face a terror that's intangible and deceptive rather than brute and physical. This episode is also notable because it offers a glimpse into Kolchak's personal life, especially through his relationship with a co-worker, Emily Cowles, an elderly co-worker that Kolchak sees as a grandmotherly figure. In a masterful twist, the Rakshasa targets who Kolchak trusts the most. It's part of its hunt. This isn't just another monster for Carl to debunk. It's a creature that uses his instincts against him, forcing him to confront something every reporter hates. To stop the Rakshasa, Kolchak encounters an old man who has spent decades hunting the demon. He hands Carl a crossbow and sacred bolts blessed by a priest, the only weapon said to truly stop the Rakshasa. But here's the kicker. To kill the demon, Kolchak might have to shoot someone he trusts, a person the creature is currently impersonating. Why does this episode still matter? Well, it's psychological horror, not just physical. It's not just about fangs or claws. It's about trust broken, the horror of betrayal, a monster that uses love and familiarity to kill. That moral dilemma is what makes this episode emotionally powerful and uniquely tense. The monster isn't hiding. It's wearing a familiar face. Culture mythology done right. This episode pulls from real mythological lore, the Rakshasa, lending ancient terror to a modern urban setting. And once again, Kolchak knows something others dismiss, forcing him to argue against rational explanations such as rats, old age, and into the supernatural. And the emotional stakes have never been higher. By using someone called trust and emphasizing betrayal, the horror becomes personal instead of procedural. A lot of people consider this the scariest and the best episode. Give it a watch. I highly recommend this one. It's great. What makes Kolchack the Night Stalker so unsettling isn't just the monsters. It's where they come from. In Kolchak's world, the supernatural doesn't invade reality. It bleeds out of it. From folklore, from fear, from the parts of ourselves we pretend don't exist. Every time Kolchak uncovers the truth, it's quietly erased, written off, buried under official explanations that make everyone feel safer. Everyone except him. Because see, Kolchak remembers. He writes it down. And whether anyone believes him or not, the monsters keep coming. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into Kolchack the Night Stalker, let me know which episode you want to explore next. And if you haven't already checked out the channel for more deep dives into horror television, forgotten monsters and the stories that crawled so modern horror could run, well, until next time, lock your doors, keep the lights low, and if you hear something moving in the dark, don't worry. It's probably nothing. I'm Craven Van Candy. Thank you for joining me. And wherever you may be, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good riddance.